The president of the Kentucky Senate tells WHAS 11 News today that the possibility of a state takeover of Jefferson County schools is once again an alternative being talked about in Frankfort.
Yeah, Robert Stivers told Isaiah Kim Martinez that it's on the table during a conversation with reporters this morning. Here's what he said.
So there's more than one way than just, and it may be dividing and doing different types of systems, but there's other alternatives out there that could be placed on a system that is not performing.
So the conversation of a state takeover has re-entered the conversation.
On the periphery, but not a leading alternative.
But he went on to say it is an alternative. You'll remember that under the administration of Matt Bevin, there was a move to put the state in control of JCPS. In 2018, there was a 4-month-long battle with the Kentucky Board of Education, which put an end to the effort by voting against it.
And during that time, Sam Corbett, a former JCPS school board member, joined WHAS 11 to explain it all. He's here again today. And
Sam is joining us again to talk about what Robert Stivers said. You know, we sent you that clip earlier today. You listened to it. What do you make of what the Senate President is saying and now in that takeover word is back?
Well, I don't think it's being too dramatic to say that I was stunned because we haven't heard the takeover word, as you just said, since 2018. We've heard a lot about let's break up JCPS into 2 or 3 different districts, but it was very surprising that President Stivers threw that out there.
And Sam, there's been talk by the Republicans about, you know, when Andy Beshear wants raises for teachers, they've been saying, well, you know, the problem is the money goes into the districts and the districts are spending it on administrators. But if you split up JCPS, that's more administrators, right?
Well, it would be, yes. And you heard also President Stivers last night on KET talk about raises for school people, but not necessarily giving it through the formula, because richer districts like JCPS, an 11 or 10 or whatever % increase would be significantly more money, obviously, than many other districts in the state.
Why do you think he's bringing up takeover once again? Because originally we were focused on the breakup into maybe 3 smaller districts within Jefferson County. Do you think that's not as manageable now? Maybe they're coming to that conclusion?
Well, when you talk about breaking JCPS up, on the surface that sounds, oh, that could be a good idea. But then when you drill down and talk about how this might really work, it's a very, very complicated process, including the funding formula. How do you make it where it's equitable to every child within the system? So throwing out the idea of a state takeover with the Kentucky Department of Education, you know, who knows? As we just said, that's something totally out of the blue that we haven't seen since 2018.
And what are you hearing in the community? I mean, what do parents think about it when they talk to you?
Well, I think we're all frustrated with a lot of the challenges JCPS has. We were all well aware of the bus situation that we went through, and that really hasn't been solved. They're going to try to address it for next school year. But there's a lot of challenges, a lot of real problems around JCPS. If you talk to Dr. Polio, you know, he's got some very strong opinions on what we need to do to correct the situation. But having the target on their back, which I think it's fair to say that JCPS does as it relates to the legislature, that's not a good situation.
Would now be the time to strike at another takeover attempt? We saw the Board of Education the last time put an end to it, but now you don't even have a leader with the Kentucky Board of Education. Right. You don't have a state superintendent. You have a situation in flux.
Right. You're talking about a potential takeover, which would have to be managed by the Kentucky Department of Education. And as you just said, Doug, they don't have a commissioner. They're in the process of a search right now, which the new commissioner has to be named by the State Board of Education, which has been primarily appointed by Governor Beshear, and in turn has to be approved by the Republican-dominated Senate. How's that going to work out?
All right. Sam Corbett, thank you very much for your insight. Again, the former Jefferson County School Board member on what Robert Stivers told us this morning.